In this video, we're going to do a quick worked example of plotting a graph of a quadratic equation from a table of values. We're asked to plot the graph of y is equal to x squared plus 2x minus 3 for x between minus 3 and positive 3. We can see that this is a quadratic equation as the highest power of x is x squared. I'm going to construct a table of values. We're going to substitute in values of x and find the corresponding y values. Once we've done that, we're going to plot the coordinates and draw the graph. So what I'm going to have here are my x and y values. So if we start here with x, and then we will have the corresponding y values. So we want to start off now with minus 3. So what I'm going to say here is when x is equal to minus 3, we're going to have that y will be equal to minus 3, which we need to square. Then we're going to have plus 2 lots of minus 3, and then we're going to have minus 3. So if we look at that, we're going to have minus 3 squared. If we square a negative number, it's positive. Then we've got 2 lots of a negative number, so that's going to be minus 6, and then we'll have minus 3. So we can see that when x is equal to minus 3, we end up now with y being equal to 9 minus 6 minus 3, which is going to give me 0. So I have now my x coordinate and corresponding y coordinate. Let's now do minus 2. So when x is equal to minus 2, we're going to have y will be equal to minus 2, which we need to square, plus 2 lots of minus 2 minus 3. If I square minus 2, I'm going to get 4, then I'm going to get minus 4, and I'm going to get minus 3. We can see that when x is equal to minus 2, y is equal to minus 3. Sometimes these will be calculator questions. If it was a calculator question, every time I see an x, I'm just going to put brackets in. So I'd have now the bracket squared, plus 2 lots of the bracket, minus 3. And all I would do here is just sub in values. So if we put in the minus 3 in this part right here, we would get our value. So if you're given something slightly more complicated and it's a calculator question, you can take this approach. Let's now do x is equal to minus 1. So when x is equal to minus 1, we're going to have y will be equal to minus 1, which we need to square, plus 2 lots of minus 1, minus 3. Minus 1 squared is 1, then we're going to have minus 2, and then we're going to have minus 3. That's going to give me minus 4. If we now substitute in 0, x is equal to 0, we will find the corresponding y value by subbing in 0. 0 squared plus 2 lots of 0 minus 3. That's going to give me 0 plus 0 minus 3. So we end up now with minus 3. We can see that this particular equation, or the graph, is symmetric about x is equal to minus 1, and we get minus 4. I could go ahead and write in that the next value for x is equal to 1 will give me 0. If you're unsure about the symmetry of the graph, just go ahead and calculate it. So if x is equal to 1, we're going to have y is equal to 1 squared plus 2 lots of 1, and then we're going to have minus 3. So we'll get 1 plus 2 minus 3, and that will give us 0. When we draw the graph of a quadratic equation, it gives us a parabola, and a parabola is symmetric. So we can see that at this stage we've got 0, 0, minus 3, 4. If we now do 2, x is equal to 2, let's sub that in. We're going to have y is equal to now 2, which we need to square, plus 2 lots of 2, and then we're going to have minus 3. This is going to give me 4 plus 4 minus 3, and that will give me positive 5. Let's now take x is equal to 3, so let's do x is equal to 3. We're going to have y is equal to now 3 squared plus 2 lots of 3, and then we're going to have minus 3. 3 squared is 9, plus 6 minus 3, and that gives me 12. What we now have is our completed table of values. All we have to do is plot the coordinates and then draw a curve through the points. When we're drawing a quadratic graph, it is a curve. So it's not straight lines, it's a sweeping parabola. Okay, so let's start off. When x is equal to minus 3, y is equal to 0. So x is equal to minus 3 and y is equal to 0 is just here. When x is equal to minus 2, y is going to be equal to minus 3, which is just here. So all I'm doing now is plotting the coordinates. When x is equal to minus 1, y is equal to minus 4, and that is going to be just there. So all I'm doing is putting the dots on, and then I'm going to draw my parabola through these. When we've got now x is equal to 0, we've got y is equal to minus 3, and that's just there. Then we've got 1, 0, which is just here. We've then got 2, 5, which is going to be just here. And then we've got finally 3, 12. 3, 12 is going to be just here. So all I need to do now is draw my parabola. So with a pen, or in your case a pencil, we're going to draw a sweeping curve. So we're going to come round, we're going to come down to this point just here, we're going to turn round, we're going to come back up through, we're going to come to this point right here, and we can see that this is a curve. We're not doing this with a ruler, it's not a collection of straight lines, it's going to be a curve. So it'll look something like so. So that now is our graph, and we can say that this is y is equal to x squared plus 2x minus 3, and that's the values now of x between minus 3 and positive 3. If we continued this, we would end up now having the curve going the other side, and it's symmetric about this line right here. So if I put the line here, we would have now a symmetric curve. So we've gone ahead now and plotted the graph of a quadratic equation. Before we finish, I just want to look at a couple of others. Let's say we've got y is equal to 2x squared minus 4x plus 13. In the calculator, we would set this up. We'd have two lots of x squared. Remember, if we have 2x squared, we square the number first, then multiply it by 2. This differs from 2x, and I'll just write this here. That is different. These two things are not, in general, equal. So let's just put that there. In this particular case, we do two lots of number and then square. We're doing the number squared, then multiplying by 2. So in the calculator, I would have now minus 4 lots of a number plus 13. And we would simply substitute in values. If we had now y is equal to minus 3x squared plus x minus 1, we would go ahead and do exactly the same. We'd have minus 3, then we'd have the x squared, let's start this again, minus 3, so minus 3, we'd have the x squared, then we'd have plus 1 lot of x, that's just x, and then minus 1. We would sub in values of x and find the corresponding y coordinates and simply plot them on the graph.